THEIRP at the international terminal at Hartsfield-Jackson was loud. Rolling suitcases, overhead announcements, crowds pressing forward. But I only cared about one thing. My son was finally coming home. After a year overseas, after a year of phone calls and missed holidays and long-distance promises, I was about to see Kwesi again. My grandson Galani wouldn't stop bouncing beside me. "Grandma," he said, pulling my hand, "Daddy's gonna lift me up, right? Like last time." I smiled through the tightness in my chest. "He'll lift you so high you'll touch the ceiling." Standing on my other side was my daughter-in-law Nia Imani, polished, calm, the same woman everyone in the family called a blessing. For a whole year, she had been the one holding things together. She took care of Galani. She checked on me. She never let us feel alone. So when she suddenly leaned in and whispered, "Mama Odora, I need to use the restroom for a minute, my stomach feels strange," I didn't panic. I barely looked up. "Go ahead," I told her. "We'll wait right here." Nia walked away into the crowd, and I watched the arrivals doors like nothing else existed. Kustam 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I started to feel that small itch of worry. Nothing big, just that instinct older women learn to respect. That's when a security guard approached us. Not casually, not politely. He moved like a man following instructions, eyes scanning like he was searching for a target. He stopped in front of me and asked, quietly but sharply, "Ma'am, where is the woman who was with you?" My stomach tightened. "You mean my daughter-in-law?" I said. "She went to the restroom." The guard's radio crackled. Static. Then a voice came through, cold, clipped, unmistakably urgent. She bolted toward the exit. "Team G, move now. Close the perimeter." The guard's face changed like a mask dropped. He stared at me again, not with curiosity anymore, but suspicion. My hands went numb. "What is happening?" I whispered. I pulled out my phone and called Nia. It rang once, then went dead. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. Third time, nothing. Phone off, my heart began pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Around us, the atmosphere shifted. I saw men in tactical vests moving quickly. I saw badges flash. I saw people stepping back, whispering, filming. Galani pressed into my side. "Grandma, are we in trouble?" I swallowed. "I don't know, baby." And then the arrival's doors opened again, and I saw my son. Thersd Kwesi stepped out with a luggage cart, looking thinner, tired, but smiling like the world was finally right again. He spotted us immediately. His face lit up. "Mama," he called, lifting his arm to wave. He left the cart and walked toward us fast, holding a small gift bag in one hand. That bag didn't even get to reach me. 2 officers stepped in from both sides, so fast it looked rehearsed. "Kwesi Vance?" one asked. Kwesi froze, still smiling like it had to be a misunderstanding. "Yes, that's me. What's going on?" The sound of handcuffs snapping shut was like a gunshot in my head. The gift bag fell. Whatever was inside scattered across the airport floor. Kwesi's smile vanished. His face drained of color. Wait, no," he stammered, pulling back. "I just landed," I screamed. "What are you doing? That's my son!" I lunged forward, but an officer stopped me with an arm like steel across my chest. "Ma'am," he said flatly, "step back." Kwesi looked at me, eyes wide, confused and terrified. "Mama, I didn't do anything." Then the words came, those words that didn't belong in a place like an airport. His being detained for involvement in an international fraud and money laundering network. My knees weakened. My grandson started crying, and my son was dragged away in cuffs while strangers held up phones like this was entertainment. Tiachi mama nengai malzan aemas and mama saiji. They took me and Galani into a small sterile room. Galani was shaking, sobbing into my shirt. "Grandma, Daddy didn't do anything! Daddy didn't do anything!" I dialed Nia again. Off. That's when the truth hit me like ice water. Nia didn't go to the restroom. Nia ran. She wasn't lost. She wasn't scared. She was escaping. I called my cousin Vera with trembling hands. "Vera," I whispered, "come to the airport now, please." When Vera arrived, I handed her Galani. It felt like ripping my heart out. He screamed for me, reaching his arms toward my face. "Grandma, don't leave me." "I won't," I promised. "I won't." But I had to follow my son into the darkness. THFL tied Destrawai to me at the station. A detective showed me charts, bank records, transactions. He pointed to numbers so big I couldn't even process them. "Over 14 months, he said. "The account in your son's name received more than $2 million. I nearly stopped breathing. That money was transferred out to offshore accounts. I shook my head violently. "My son is a carpenter. He builds cabinets. He fixes furniture. He doesn't know anything about offshore accounts. The detective didn't argue. He simply slid one page across the table. His signature is on every authorization. I stared, and there it was, Kwesi's handwriting, the same signature I'd seen on school forms when he was a child, the same slanted letters, the same loops. My body turned cold. I begged to see him. When they brought Kwesi in, he looked like someone who'd been hollowed out. His eyes were red. His voice barely held together. "Mama," he whispered. I took his hands. "Tell me the truth," I said. "Tell me what happened." He swallowed hard. It was Naya, and then the story poured out. Before he flew overseas, Nia handed him business papers. She rushed him. She smiled. She said, "Just sign here, baby. It's for my business account. The lawyer's waiting." Kwesi didn't read. He trusted. He signed where she pointed, and that love became the trap. Every lawyer I contacted refused. One said bluntly, "Your son is the perfect scapegoat. Nobody will believe he didn't know." I went home empty, broken. Then the doorbell rang. A woman stood there, simple clothes, hair tied back, eyes sharp. "Ms. Odora Vance," she said. "Yes." She flashed her badge. "Detective Zuri Banks, cyber crimes." Then she said the first sentence that gave me air again. "I don't think your son is the criminal. I think he's the cover." Locate off. I see. Zuri asked one question. "Did Nia have a room in this house you weren't allowed to enter?" I didn't hesitate. "Her office." Zuri picked the lock in under a minute. Inside, everything was too perfect. Clean, arranged, sterile, like a life stage for an audience. Zuri checked the drawers. Then she tapped the bottom panel. Hollowed. She lifted it, and there it was, burner phones. SIM cards labeled by country. A notebook full of elderly names. Victims. Photos of Nia with men in luxury hotels. Then I saw him, a tall man, a long scar on his cheek. I recognized that face from the news. A wanted criminal. Zuri's jaw tightened. "This isn't small time," she said. "Your daughter-in-law is deep in it." Later that evening, my neighbor told me she had seen Nia outside with a scar-faced man, and she overheard words that made my blood run cold. Frankfurt package. "The widow from Detroit is clean," but we got into my car to go report it. And then, a white truck came out of nowhere. Headlights, impact, metal screaming, darkness. When I woke in the hospital, Zuri was there. I asked the question before my brain fully came back online. "Mrs. Opalin." Zuri didn't look at me. She didn't make it. That's when I understood these weren't just scammers. They were killers. Ron. Zuri found the scar-faced man. He cracked under pressure, and he revealed the most important secret. Nia had an external hard drive. Insurance. With everything on it. Zuri tracked Nia to a mountain cabin. And through a Lev intercept, I heard Nia's voice, laughing. "Kwesi is a lovesick fool. He'll take the fall." My hands clenched into fists. My nails dug into my palm. Zuri looked at me once, then nodded to the SWAT leader. "All units move." The cabin door burst. Nia screamed. And minutes later, she was brought out in cuffs, messy, furious, powerless. Her eyes met mine, not regret, not shame, only hatred. But it didn't matter anymore, because she was caught. The hard drive destroyed her. The court sentenced her to 25 years. Kwesi got full custody. We sold the house, moved to the coast, started over. Some nights Galani still asked, "Where's Mommy?" And Kwesi would hold him and say, "Mommy made a choice. And choices have consequences." And when I heard my son say that, I knew he had grown into someone stronger than the betrayal that tried to bury him. Because truth didn't just save him. It rebuilt him. I sat alone in the police station hallway for nearly 3 hours. No phone. No answers, no comfort. Just the sound of fluorescent lights humming above my head and the faint echo of boots walking past me every few minutes. The chair beneath me was hard plastic, cold against my back. My hands were locked together in my lap, fingers stiff from gripping each other too tightly. I had stopped crying, not because the pain was gone, but because something inside me had shut down to survive. Every time a door opened, my heart jumped. Every time it closed again, my chest tightened. Finally, footsteps stopped in front of me. A man in a dark suit stood there, not a uniform this time. He looked to be in his early 50s, sharp eyes, controlled movements, the kind of man who spoke carefully because every word mattered. "Mrs. Odora Vance," he asked. I nodded, slowly standing. "I'm Detective Thorne, lead investigator on your son's case." My stomach twisted. He didn't offer sympathy. He didn't offer comfort. He simply gestured toward a small office down the hall. Please come with me. The room smelled like paper and old coffee. A desk sat in the center with a thick file resting on it. Too thick to belong to one man. Detective Thorne sat down and opened it without ceremony. Mrs. Vance, he said calmly, I need to be very direct with you. I braced myself. In the last 14 months, bank accounts registered under your son's name received funds from 47 different sources across the U.S. and Europe. He slid a page toward me. Numbers filled the sheet, rows and rows of transactions. Total amount, he continued, just over $2 million. My breath left me. That's impossible, I whispered. My son has never even seen that kind of money. Detective Thorne nodded slightly, as if he had expected that answer. Those funds were moved almost immediately to offshore accounts in Panama and the Cayman Islands. The process was professional. Deliberate. I pushed the paper back. You're describing a criminal mastermind, I said. My son is a carpenter. He barely uses online banking. Thorne didn't argue. Instead, he flipped to another page and turned it toward me. At the bottom of the document was a signature, my son's signature, the same handwriting I had seen on school permission slips, the same slanted letters, the same looping Q. My legs gave out. I collapsed back into the chair. No, I whispered. He would never. All authorization forms bear his signature, Thorne said evenly, including international transfers. I looked up at him, tears finally spilling over. Please, I said. Let me see him. Just 5 minutes. He hesitated, then nodded once. They led me through another hallway colder than the first. Metal doors, concrete walls, no windows. Kwesi was sitting alone at a bolted metal table when I entered. He wasn't handcuffed, but he might as well have been. His shoulders were slumped. His face was pale. His eyes were red and hollow, like he hadn't slept since the airport. When he saw me, his lip trembled. Mama? I rushed forward and took his hands. They were cold. Tell me the truth, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. Whatever it is, tell me. He swallowed hard, then whispered the name that shattered everything. Nia. My chest tightened. It was Naya, Mama, he said, voice breaking. I swear I didn't know. And then the story came out, slow, painful, and devastating. The night before he left for London, Nia had asked him to meet her at a cafe. She said her craft business was expanding, he explained, importing materials from overseas. She had brought papers. A lot of papers. She told me the lawyer was waiting, that it had to be signed that day or the shipment would be delayed. He laughed bitterly. I don't understand legal language. I trusted her. He looked up at me, eyes filled with shame. I signed where she pointed. I didn't read everything, I just wanted to help her. My hands tightened around his. So every document, I whispered. He nodded. Everyone! I closed my eyes. In that moment I understood the truth. My son wasn't careless. He wasn't greedy. He wasn't criminal. He was in love. And love had been used against him. As I sat there with him, something I had buried deep inside my memory surfaced, sharp and unforgiving. 3 months earlier, I had been watering plants near Nia's office late at night. Her door had been slightly open. I had heard her voice, low, cold, unfamiliar. No, don't use my account. Use Kwesi's. He's in London. He won't notice. The money will look cleaner. At the time, I had convinced myself I misunderstood. Now that word burned in my mind. Cleaner. I had heard it, and I had chosen silence. So the interrogation ended. An officer entered. Time's up. They led Kwesi away. At the door, he turned back to me. His eyes weren't angry. They were empty. I'm sorry, Mama, he said softly. I didn't protect us. I watched him disappear behind the steel door, and that was the moment I realized this wasn't just about clearing his name. This was about undoing a betrayal that came from inside our own home. The next day, I began searching for legal help. The first lawyer listened quietly, nodding, sympathetic, until he saw the file. Then his expression changed. This case is heavy, he said carefully. Your son's signature is everywhere. The second lawyer was kinder, but firm. No jury will believe he signed without knowing. The third was brutally honest. Mrs. Vance, your son is the perfect fall guy. By evening, every door had closed. I returned home feeling hollow. The house was silent. Too silent. Nia's shoes were gone. Her office door was still locked. And for the first time I didn't feel grief. I felt anger. TK now cat barog HTOP. That night, the doorbell rang. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something made me open the door. A woman stood there, jeans, simple jacket, hair pulled back. Her eyes were sharp, focused, intelligent. "Mrs. Odora Vance?" she asked. "Yes." She showed me her badge. Detective Zuri Banks, Cyber Crimes. Then she said the sentence that kept me standing. "I don't believe your son is guilty." I stared at her. "I believe someone used him." ENDO of Part 2. Key LFFNGR. Zuri stepped inside and looked around my living room slowly, thoughtfully. "People like the one who framed your son," she said, "always leave something behind." She turned to me. "And I think it's still in this house." My heart started pounding again, because deep down, I already knew exactly where she would want to look next. Detective Zuri Banks didn't look like the kind of officer who wasted time. She stood in my living room like she belonged there. Not because she was rude, but because she had that calm certainty of someone who had seen lies crumble before. Her eyes moved across the space the way a surgeon studies an X-ray. Quiet, precise. "Mrs. Vance," she said, "I need you to understand something." I nodded, still holding my breath. People who run fraud rings don't leave evidence in obvious places. But they always leave something. A mistake, a shortcut, a comfort item. And if your daughter-in-law lived here, this house holds her fingerprints, even if she thinks she erased them. My throat tightened. "What do you need from me?" I asked. Zuri's gaze drifted down the hallway. "Where was her territory?" she asked. "A place you didn't enter. A place she guarded." I didn't have to think. "Her home office?" I said instantly. "She kept it locked. Always." She said she needed silence to work. Zuri's lips pressed together. "Then we start there." The do or I miwes never meant TOPN. The hallway felt longer than usual as I led her to the back of the house. Every step brought back memories I didn't want. Nia laughing, Nia working, Nia holding Galani in her arms like she was the safest thing in the world. But now, those memories felt like photographs of a stranger. We stopped at the oak door at the end of the hall. The brass knob was polished. Too polished, like it was touched every day but never by anyone except her. I tried the handle out of habit. "Locked." "See," I whispered. "Always." Zuri didn't react the way most people would. No surprise, no frustration, just a slow, controlled inhale. She set her bag down on the floor and opened it. Inside was a small leather kit. Slim metal tools glinted under the hallway light. My eyes widened. She caught my expression and gave a small, almost tired smile. "Some evidence lives behind doors," she said quietly. "And sometimes justice doesn't have time to wait for a warrant." She knelt. Her fingers moved like she'd done this 1,000 times. Gentle pressure, tiny twists, careful listening. The lock clicked, not loud, not dramatic, just a small sound that felt like the beginning of a storm. Zuri pushed the door open, and the air that came out of that room was cold. Not temperature cold, cold like a place without warmth, without honesty. Arome teo parfes teo Betrayal. The office looked like a showroom. The desk was spotless. Not a pen out of place. Not a scrap of paper. Not even dust. Books lined the shelves in color order, like a decorative display. A laptop sat closed in the center of the desk, perfectly aligned. Everything screamed control. It didn't look like a room where real work happened. It looked like a room designed to look like work happened. Zuri pulled on gloves and handed me a pair. "You live here," she said. "You'll notice what's out of place faster than I will." I slipped the gloves on with shaking fingers. We started searching. I checked the shelves first. Books on design, crafts, small business strategy. Everything clean, everything fake. Zuri went straight to the desk. Drawer 1, expensive stationery, gold pens, engraved notepads with a logo I barely recognized. Drawer 2, contracts and invoices, perfectly normal on the surface. Drawer 3, mostly empty, just paper clips and a small stapler. Zuri paused there. She didn't look at what was inside. She tapped the bottom of the drawer with her knuckles. The sound was wrong. It was too deep, too thick. Her eyes lifted to mine. "This drawer has a second floor," she said. My heart began to pound so hard I could feel it in my ears. Zuri slid a thin tool along the edge, then lifted gently. The bottom panel popped loose. A hidden compartment, and inside it a small black velvet bag. Zuri pulled it out, set it on the desk, and opened it carefully. When the contents spilled out, my stomach turned. THTNGS TISTIMMY HOSA 5 burner phones. The cheap kind that criminals use and throw away. A stack of SIM cards in tiny labeled bags. Germany, France, UK, Italy. 2 black leather notebooks, worn at the corners like they'd been handled often. And underneath those, A thick envelope of photographs. I stared at it all like my brain couldn't translate what my eyes were seeing. "Dear God," I whispered. Zuri's voice hardened. "This is it." She handed me one notebook. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Names. A long list of names, with ages and countries. Elsa Schmidt, 81, Germany. Jean-Pierre Du Bois, 78, France. Maria Rossi, 85, Italy. And next to each name, numbers, bank account like strings. Amounts. Codes. I couldn't breathe. "These are," I started. Zuri finished for me. "Victims," she said. "Mostly elderly. People who can't fight back." My knees went weak. I had spent my life teaching literature, stories of villains and heroes, warning signs and morals. And here I was living inside one, with the villain sleeping under my roof. Th putos th mumwai bulunkel. Then I picked up the envelope. I pulled out the photos one by one, and my hands froze. Nia wasn't just pictured with random strangers. She was dressed in elegant clothes, sitting in hotel conference rooms, shaking hands, smiling, like a business executive. But the men beside her, their faces were wrong. Heart empty, dangerous. One picture stopped me completely. A tall man in a black suit stood beside her. He had one defining feature, a long scar running down his right cheek. I had seen him before. On the news. International fraud, FBI. Wanted. My lips parted, but no sound came. Zuri took the photo from my hand. Her eyes sharpened. "This isn't a small operation," she murmured. "This is global." My heart sank, because global meant powerful, and powerful meant ruthless. Zuri's Mar9G. Zuri sealed everything into an evidence bag with fast, careful movements. "I'm taking this straight to my lab," she said. "But listen to me, Mrs. Vance." She leaned closer. "From this moment on, you act normal. You do not mention this to anyone. Not neighbors, not family, not even your cousin Vera." I swallowed. "Why?" Zuri's eyes didn't blink. "Because if Nia has people watching you, and I think she does, you're in danger." The word danger felt too small for what I suddenly imagined. I nodded. Zuri stood. "If anything feels off," she said, "you call me immediately." Then she left. And I was alone in that room. The room I had avoided for a year. The room that had been hiding the truth the whole time. Thbormach. I closed the office door and walked outside to breathe. My chest felt tight, like the walls were pushing in. Even the evening light felt strange, too soft for what I had just discovered. That's when I saw Mrs. Opaline Chesterton, my neighbor of 20 years, standing on her porch watering her flowers. When she spotted me, she set the watering can down immediately. "Odora," she called, walking closer. "Honey, I heard police were at the airport. Folks been talking all day." My throat burned. I tried to hold it in. But I couldn't. The truth spilled out in broken pieces. "My son, they arrested him," I whispered. "They said he's connected to a fraud ring, and Nia is gone." And Mrs. Opaline's mouth fell open. "Lord have mercy." She stepped closer and held my hands like she was holding me together. She listened. And when I finished, she didn't just comfort me. She looked around the street like she was checking if someone was watching. Then she leaned in and lowered her voice. "Odora," she said, "I seen something." My heart stopped. "What?" She swallowed. 2 weeks ago," she whispered. "I couldn't sleep. I came outside late and I saw Nia by your gate." My skin went cold. "She was talking to a man," Opaline continued. "Tall, dark suit." Her voice trembled, "and he had a scar right here." She traced her cheek. "The same spot." My breath caught. "She handed him an envelope," Opaline said. "And I heard her say, 'the package for Frankfurt.'" I stared at her, barely blinking. "And the man," she added, voice shaking. "He said something back. Something that stuck with me." She swallowed hard. "The widow from Detroit is already clean." Clean, that word again. It hit me like a hammer, because now I knew what it meant. A person emptied. A person erased. A person used th adhesio, and I grabbed her hands tightly. "Mrs. Opaline," I whispered, "you have to tell the police." Her eyes widened. "Yes," I said urgently. "You can save my son. You can prove she was connected to him." Opaline hesitated only for a second. Then her face hardened with quiet bravery. "For Kwesi," she said. "I'll do it." I ran inside for my keys. We got into the car. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, but my heart had one focus: the precinct. The truth, my son. I tried calling Zuri, no answer. I told myself she was busy. I told myself everything would still be okay. We drove toward the main road, and that's when it happened. Tichi Mai Chiro say a white truck without a logo appeared from a side street like it had been waiting. It lunged forward, its headlights blinded me. Mrs. Opaline screamed. I jerked the steering wheel instinctively, but there wasn't time. The sound that came next wasn't a crash. It was a violent tearing of reality itself. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. And then darkness. The first thing I felt was pain. Not sharp pain, but deep, heavy pain like my body had been dropped into concrete and forgotten there. Then came the smell. Strong, chemical, sterile, disinfectant. I tried to open my eyes, but the light stabbed straight through my skull. A groan escaped my throat before I could stop it. Mrs. Vance. A voice said gently. Odora, can you hear me? I forced my eyes open again. White ceiling. IV stand, hospital curtains moving slightly with the air conditioning. I was alive, but something was wrong, very wrong. My head throbbed like it was splitting in two. My mouth was dry. My arm felt heavy and foreign with tubes taped to it. I turned my head slowly, every movement sending waves of nausea through me, and then I saw her. Detective Zuri Banks was standing beside the bed. She wasn't smiling, she wasn't calm. Her jaw was tight, her posture rigid, her eyes darker than I had ever seen them. That was when fear truly hit me. Zuri, I whispered, Mrs. Opaline. She didn't answer immediately. She looked down, and in that single movement my heart already knew. The woman who was with you, she said quietly, carefully like each word weighed a ton, did not survive the crash. The room tilted. No. I breathed. No, no, no. My chest seized. Air wouldn't come. Tears flooded my eyes so fast I couldn't even wipe them away. Mrs. Opaline, the woman who brought casseroles when my husband died, who watched my son grow up, who had the courage to speak when she didn't have to. She died on the way to the hospital. Zuri continued softly. Internal injuries. I turned my face into the pillow and screamed. A raw, broken sound ripped out of me, grief mixed with rage, guilt mixed with terror. She was only trying to help, I sobbed. She was only telling the truth. Zuri placed a firm hand on my shoulder. Mrs. Vance, she said, her voice steady but burning underneath. This was not an accident. I froze. They knew you were going to the precinct, she said. They wanted that witness silenced. The words settled like poison. This wasn't just fraud anymore. This was murder. I lay there staring at the ceiling long after Zuri finished explaining. A white truck, fake plates, rented under stolen identity. Professional, cold, calculated. Do you understand now? Zuri asked quietly. This organization will kill to protect itself. I swallowed hard. Yes! I whispered. She leaned closer. And do you understand something else? I looked at her. They underestimated you. I turned my head slowly. What do you mean? They thought you were just a grieving mother? Zuri said. They didn't think you'd fight back. I felt something change inside my chest. The fear didn't disappear. But it moved. It turned into something sharper. Something harder. I won't stop, I said hoarsely. Not now, not after Opaline. Zuri nodded once. Good, she said, because neither will I. He confessestuchi a hanadita of your waitiigi 2 days later. Still weak, still bruised, I was sitting upright in my hospital bed when Zuri returned. This time she didn't come alone. She came with news. They caught him, she said. The driver. Yes, Darius Mitchell, the man with the scar. My heart pounded. Hey, cracked, she continued. Not at first. But when we showed him the faces of the victims and Mrs. Opaline's photo, he broke. She paused. Then delivered the words I will never forget. He confirmed it was Nia Manny who ordered him. My vision blurred. She called him when she saw you driving, Zuri said. At first, the instruction was to scare, to intimidate. I closed my eyes. But then, Zuri continued, voice colder, she changed her mind. I opened my eyes again. She told him not to let the witness talk. Silence swallowed the room. She chose to kill, I whispered. Zuri didn't deny it. She did. Theralplcy. Zuri pulled up a chair and sat beside my bed. There's more, she said. My heart sank. Nia has something she calls her insurance, Zuri explained. An external hard drive. On it, records, victims, call recordings, transfer logs, everything. Hope flared. And where is it? Zuri met my eyes. She never lets it out of her sight. A beat. We believe she's hiding in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I inhaled sharply. She thinks she's untouchable, Zuri said. She thinks your son will rot in prison for her. My hands clenched the sheets. She called him a lovesick fool, Zuri added softly. That was when my tears stopped. Something inside me hardened into steel. Tejvai siya proka mahakam heart that night. Zuri returned with headphones. We intercepted a call, she said. She placed them gently over my ears, static. Then, Nia's voice. Clear, confident, mocking. They arrested Darius. She laughed lightly. Idiot. A man responded nervously on the other end. It doesn't matter, Nia continued. Everything is in my husband's name. He's taking the fall. I felt sick. He trusted me completely, she added. Men like him always do. I ripped the headphones off. That voice wasn't the woman who held my grandson at night. That voice belonged to a stranger. A monster. Zuri's eyes burned. That recording alone could free your son, she said. If we get the hard drive. They found her at dawn, a cabin in the mountains, surrounded quietly. No sirens, no warning. Zuri insisted I come. You deserve to see this end, she said. I sat in a mobile command vehicle watching a screen feed from a drone. I saw shadows move. I saw doors break. I heard screaming. Then, target secured, a voice said calmly. Hard drive recovered. My knees buckled. They brought Nia out in handcuffs. Hair messy. Face pale, no smile. When her eyes met mine through the window, hatred flashed across her face. But she said nothing. For the first time, she had no power. The release order came through at 3:17 a.m. I remember the exact time because Zuri said it twice slowly, as if she wanted to make sure it was real. Mrs. Vance. She said into the phone, your son is being released. Right now. I sat up in the hospital bed so fast the IV line tugged painfully at my arm. But I didn't care. My voice broke. Is he clear, Philly? She replied. The hard drive changed everything. For the first time since the airport, I let myself cry Watard Alfir, Rondawar. They discharged me early that morning. Zuri herself drove me to the detention center. The sky was still dark, but the night felt lighter than it had in weeks. My hands trembled the entire drive, not from fear this time, but from anticipation. When we arrived, the building looked exactly the same as it had before, gray, cold, unforgiving. But I was different. We waited in silence. Then the heavy metal door screeched open, and Kwesi walked out. He looked thinner. His beard was uneven. Dark circles sat beneath his eyes like bruises. But he was free. He stopped when he saw me. For a moment he didn't move. Then he crossed the distance between us in 3 long steps and wrapped his arms around me, so tightly I could barely breathe. Mama, he whispered into my shoulder. I thought I lost everything. I held him like I had when he was a child. Like the world could still hurt him if I let go. You're home, I said. You're safe. Behind him, Zuri watched quietly. Her job wasn't done, not even close. Within 48 hours, the case exploded across federal agencies. The hard drive Nia had guarded so obsessively contained everything. Recorded scam calls, transaction maps, offshore routing instructions, internal meetings with voices clearly identifiable, and most importantly, video files of Nia herself directing operations. She hadn't just participated. She had led. And she had documented it all like trophies. Zuri explained it to us later, sitting at our kitchen table while Galani slept in the next room. She believed documentation gave her control, Zuri said. Insurance against betrayal. She shook her head. Instead, it buried her in TLDI to ITLDH. The trial began 3 weeks later. By then the case was national news. A transnational fraud ring. Elderly victims across continents. A murdered witness, a husband framed by his own wife. The courtroom was packed. Journalists filled the back rows. Cameras clicked constantly. Kwesi sat beside me in a dark suit that didn't quite fit anymore. His posture was straight, but his jaw stayed tight. When Nia was brought in, escorted by officers, the room went silent. She looked smaller than I remembered. No confidence. No charm. No warmth. Just emptiness. She didn't look at us. T.O.T. stand. I was called as one of the first witnesses. Standing there, hand on the Bible, I felt every year of my life press into my spine. I told the truth. All of it. The late-night phone calls. The luxury items. The phrase I ignored. The money will look cleaner. When the prosecutor presented the notebooks with the victims' names, I heard people gasp. When they displayed photos of Mrs. Opaline, the room broke into murmurs. Nia's defense tried to discredit me, suggested grief. Bias, a mother protecting her son. I looked straight at the jury. My imagination? I said calmly, could not invent 5 burner phones, 30 SIM cards, or a list of 87 elderly victims. The defense sat down. Then came the moment no one expected. Nia stood up. She asked to speak. Her voice was flat, controlled. She didn't cry. She didn't plead. She confessed. She admitted to financial desperation, to manipulation, to choosing her husband as a shield. When the prosecutor asked why she used Kwesi, her answer chilled the room. "Because he trusted me," she said. "That made him useful." Kwesi didn't look at her. He stared straight ahead. The past was already gone. Tichi Verdisti, the judge, spoke for nearly 10 minutes. Each charge carried weight. Each sentence stacked upon the last. Nia Amani Vance. The judge said, "You are sentenced to 25 years in federal prison." The gavel struck. I closed my eyes. Justice had spoken. Nawas Eframalwala locality outside the courthouse, sunlight poured down like it hadn't in months. Reporters shouted questions. We walked past them. Kwesi squeezed my hand. "It's over," he said quietly. But I knew the truth. It wasn't over. It was beginning again, from the ashes. Freedom doesn't always feel like relief. Sometimes it feels like exhaustion. That was how it felt when we returned to the house in Atlanta after the verdict. The same walls, the same rooms, the same silence. But now heavier, like the house itself knew what had happened inside it. Kwesi stood in the doorway for a long moment, his suitcase still in his hand. "I don't think I can stay here," he said quietly. I didn't argue. I felt it too. Every corner carried echoes. False laughter, hidden conversations, a life that had been staged so convincingly we all believed it was real. Nia's office door remained closed. Neither of us had the strength to open it again. That house had sheltered a lie, and lies rot everything they touch. Tia Chiista Tio Startovar 2 days later, Kwesi sat across from me at the kitchen table. Galani was coloring quietly beside us, humming to himself, blissfully unaware of how close he had come to losing his father forever. "I want a divorce," Kwesi said simply. I reached across the table and took his hand. "I know," I said. "I'm going to fight for full custody," he continued. "I won't let my son grow up with deception as normal." There was no anger in his voice, just certainty. And certainty, I had learned, was stronger than rage. We contacted a lawyer that afternoon. This time, doors opened easily. Evidence speaks louder than fear. By the end of the week, Nia signed the divorce papers from prison. No appeal. No custody request. She was done with us, and we were done with her. We sold the house quickly. Too quickly, perhaps. But neither of us wanted to drag it out. As the realtor walked through, listing features and upgrades, I stood in the living room and watched sunlight hit the floor where Galani had once played with toy cars while his mother sat nearby planning crimes on burner phones. I felt no nostalgia, only resolve. On the final day, I packed the last box myself. Family photos, old books, Galani's drawings, nothing else mattered. When the door closed behind us for the last time, I didn't look back. Some places don't deserve memory. Tichirari Tiotiasit, we drove east. No destination at first, just movement. The farther we went from Atlanta, the lighter the air felt. By the time we reached the Carolina coast, Galani was asleep in the back seat, his small chest rising and falling peacefully. Kwesi pulled over near the water. We stepped out together. The ocean stretched endlessly before us, vast, honest, relentless. "This feels right," Kwesi said softly. I nodded. The sea doesn't hide things, it takes them. A smile hoosi. Akuyuai Paramaslit. We found the house 2 weeks later. Small, white, blue shutters, a modest garden filled with lavender and hydrangeas. It wasn't impressive, it was peaceful. Kwesi looked around the empty rooms and smiled faintly. "This is enough," he said. And for the first time in a long while I believed him. Bueld I'm Jasamak and Jrael. I opened the bakery 3 months later. I named it Serenity Sweets, not because life was calm, but because calm was what we were choosing every single day. The rhythm of baking saved me. Measuring flour. Waiting for dough to rise. Watching people smile over warm pastries. Healing doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in routines. Kwesi found work at a local workshop designing furniture for coastal homes. He earned less than before, but he came home every evening before sunset. Time, I learned, is the most expensive currency, and the most valuable. Akals Koyustos Galani adjusted more slowly. Some nights, he asked questions that broke my heart. "Grandma, where is Mommy?" Kwesi never lied. He knelt, looked his son in the eyes, and said gently, "Mommy made very bad choices, and now she has to fix them far away." "Does she love me?" Galani asked once. Kwesi swallowed hard. "Yes," he said. "But loving someone doesn't always mean you know how to protect them." Galani nodded, accepting more than he understood. Children are braver than we give them credit for. Teach Fusis si fails alsesklos. Here's one Sunday morning. While I was arranging pastries in the display case, a familiar voice called my name. Odora. I turned. Detective Zuri Banks stood there in a summer dress, no badge, no authority. Just a woman who had carried justice on her shoulders and refused to drop it. She had been promoted. She brought Galani a wooden ship model. "You earned calm," she told me quietly as we sat outside with coffee. "Don't ever feel guilty for choosing it." Before she left, she said something I will never forget. "Most people survive tragedy," Zuri said. "Very few rebuild honestly. Waale I once believed that love meant silence. That trust meant not asking questions. That peace was something you preserved at all costs. I was wrong. Silence protects liars. Blind trust empowers predators. And peace built on denial will always collapse. If I had spoken sooner, perhaps things would have been different. But regret is a place you can't live in. Only learn from." That evening, I stood at the kitchen window. Kwesi was pushing Galani on the swing outside. The boys' laughter floated through the air, mixing with the distant sound of waves and the faint smell of baked bread still clinging to my clothes. That sound, it meant survival. It meant we had made it through, not untouched, but intact.